In previous lecture, we talked about the idea of recursive descent parsing and predictive parsing. In top-down parsing, at any step of the derivation, we are expanding the leftmost variable. So if we obtain the sentential form small a capital A alpha during the course of the top-down parsing, in this sentential form, capital A is the leftmost variable. At this step of the derivation, parser has to do the decision making. From capital A, I may be having one or more production. So let us say I have the production capital A derives alpha and I have production capital A derives beta. So at this step of the derivation, in order to expand the capital A, parser has to take the decision whether to use first production for expanding the capital A or to use the second production for expanding the capital A. So there is a decision making done by the parser at this step of the derivation. Question is, how does the parser decide about this? Parsing table helps the parser in deciding about this, which production of a variable to use for expanding the variable. What is the structure of the parsing table? Let us now discuss this. Predictive parsing table is a two-dimensional table where rows are indexed on the basis of the variable and columns are indexed on the basis of the terminal symbol. For every variable which is there in the grammar, we have a row, and for every terminal symbol, we have a column. We have a special column for the terminal for the symbol dollar. Entries in the parsing table, they are either blank entry or they are containing production. Blank entries are denoting the error condition, and the entries which are containing production, the meaning is, for example, let us consider this entry. The meaning of this entry is, in order to expand the capital S, when next symbol is a small a, I will make use of this production. Similarly, the meaning of this entry is, in order to expand the capital A, when the next symbol is a small a, I will make use of this production. All the productions of a variable, they will be there in the row of that variable. All the productions of the variable capital A, they will be appearing in this row only. They will not appear in the row of other variable. Similarly, all the productions of the variable capital S, they will appear in this row only. So predictive parsing table is a two-dimensional table, and the structure actually looks like this. At this stage, you might be getting the question in your mind as to how do we obtain the parsing table. Parsing table is obtained from the grammar. And how do we obtain the parsing table from the grammar? We will talk about this later on. First of all, we'll understand as to how do we use the parsing table in the parsing. For this, we'll take the example of an input string, and we'll do the parsing of that string, and in the parsing we'll make use of the parsing table. This grammar shown over here accepts the string A, B, D, E, and I place this string in the input buffer. At the end of the buffer, I place the $sign. In the parsing, I will also make use of a stack, and at the bottom of the stack, I place $, and I start by placing the starting symbol into the stack, which is capital S. Topmost stack alphabet is capital S. Next input symbol is small a. I consult the parsing table for the entry S, small a. S, small a is containing this production. So the meaning of this is, capital S is to be expanded using this production. Capital S is to be expanded to ABC. So I expand capital S to ABC, and buffer continues to hold ABDE dollar. What has happened if I see this from the derivation point of view? I started the derivation from capital S, and in the first step of the derivation I have expanded capital S to ABC, so this is the sentential form that we have obtained. Now topmost stack alphabet is capital A. I consult the parsing table for the entry A comma small a, which is containing this production. So that means capital A is to be expanded using this production, which is AB. So I expand capital A to AB, and the buffer continues to hold ABDE dollar. Now topmost stack alphabet is a terminal symbol. Whenever you obtain a terminal symbol on top of the stack, that terminal symbol must match with next input symbol. If it is not matching, that will signify that there is error in the input string. So in this case, topmost stack alphabet is a terminal symbol small a, and it is matching with the next input symbol. So this is not denoting the error condition. So in this case, what we do is, since this small a which is there in the input string, it has been matched with this small a, so this can be eliminated from both the places. So we eliminate, we pop small a from the stack, and we eliminate a small a from the buffer, and the stack after this holds B capital C dollar, and the input buffer continues to hold, it holds BDE dollar. Now topmost stack alphabet is once again a terminal symbol, and it is matching with the next input symbol. So this has been matched. So this is popped off from the stack. So this has been matched, and stack after this holds BC dollar, and the buffer after this holds DE dollar. Now at this stage, whenever I join the content of whatever has been matched with that of the stack, I will obtain the sentential form. So AB, BC, it is a sentential form. Let me show it over here. This capital A was expanded using AB. So this is the sentential form. Now topmost stack alphabet is a variable which is capital B, and the next input symbol is small d. I consult the parsing table for the entry B comma small d. B comma small d is holding this production, so capital B is to be expanded using epsilon. So I expand capital B using epsilon, and after this stack holds C dollar, buffer holds DE dollar, and this is the matching part that has already been matched. Now topmost stack alphabet is capital C, which is a variable, and the next input symbol is small d. I consult the parsing table for the entry C comma small d. C comma small d is holding this production, so capital C is to be expanded using this production. So I expand the capital A using this production, buffer holds DE dollar. This has already been matched, and in the derivation, this capital B was expanded using epsilon, and I obtained this sentential form. And now this capital C has been expanded using the production DE, and I obtain the given string, and this is the sentential form. Now the topmost stack alphabet is a terminal symbol which is small d, and it is matching with the next input symbol. So this part has already been matched, so I pop it off, and now matching part becomes this, and it is popped off from the stack. So the stack after this is holding this, and the input buffer is holding this. Now topmost stack alphabet is small e, which is the terminal symbol, and it is matching with the next input symbol, so it is once again eliminated, popped off from the stack. This is the matching part, and the stack after this is holding dollar, and the input buffer is holding dollar. There is nothing remaining. All the symbols of the input string, they have been processed. Now at this stage, the stack has become empty, the input buffer has become empty, and the parsing is successful. So this is how we use a parsing table for doing the parsing. You must have understood as to how parsing table is helping the parser in taking the decision as to which production of a variable to use for expanding the variable in any sentential form in any step of the derivation. Having understood how to do the parsing using predictive parsing table, let us now turn our attention to the construction of the predictive parsing table. Predictive parsing table is a two-dimensional table where rows are indexed on the basis of variables which are there in the grammar, and columns are indexed on the basis of terminal symbols. And entries in the parsing table are either containing production of the grammar or they are blank entries. Blank entries are denoting error conditions. So, constructing predictive parsing table means determining which production of the grammar will go at which location in the parsing table. Let us assume that during the parsing, parser has reached the configuration where stack is, for example, holding capital A, capital B, capital C, and dollar, and I have some string which is there in the input buffer. What is the significance and meaning of this configuration? The significance of this configuration is parser is first of all expecting the string which is derivable from capital A, followed by the string which is derivable from capital B, and then the string which is derivable from capital C. It means that a string which is there in the input buffer can be broken into the three components: the component which is derivable from capital A, component which is derivable from capital B, and followed by this the component which is derivable from capital C. So that is the meaning and significance of this configuration. When parser is, first of all, parser is expecting the string which is derivable from capital A. So when capital A is on top of the stack and I have the string in the input buffer which is derivable from capital A, this string will begin from which terminal symbol? This string will begin from the terminal symbol which is there in the first of capital A. Now since capital A is on top of the stack, now this capital A can be expanded using some production of the grammar. So parser now has to determine which production to use for expanding this capital A. Let us assume that I have a production from the grammar which is capital A derives alpha. Question now is whether I can use this production for expanding this capital A. If I want to use this production for expanding this capital A, this string must be derivable from this production. For this string to be derivable from this production, this string must begin with the terminal symbol which is there in the first of alpha. So that means for this string to be derivable from this production, it must begin from the terminal symbol which is there in the first of alpha. So when capital A is on top of the stack, and if this is to be expanded using this production, next input symbol must be the symbol which is there in the first of alpha. What is the meaning of this? The meaning is this particular production will be added in the parsing table at the location A comma whatever symbols which are there in the first of alpha. Now let us use this idea for constructing the parsing table. Where will I add this production in the parsing table? I'll be adding it at the location S comma first of ABC. This is the location where I'll be adding this production of the grammar. First of ABC is small a. So this production will be added at the location S comma small a. So here I add the production S derives A, B, C. Similarly, let us now add this production to the parsing table. Where will I add this? I'll add it at the location A comma whatever is first of AB. First of AB is small a. So this production will get added here in the parsing table. Capital A derives AB. Before I take the production of the variable capital B, let us first of all take the production of capital C. Where will I add this? I will add it at the location whatever is first of DE. First of DE is a small d. So this production will get added at this location in the parsing table. Capital C derives DE. Let us now look at the production of the variable capital B. This production is deriving epsilon. So if I consider this scenario, since the capital B is deriving epsilon, so what is the implication of this? Implication of this is that if I have in the stack ABC dollar and I have something in the input buffer, and if capital B is deriving epsilon, so this string can be broken into the two component. First component which is derivable from capital A, followed by the component which is derivable from capital C, because capital B is deriving epsilon. So when I expand capital B to epsilon, what will be the next input symbol? Next input symbol will be the symbol which is this one. So the symbol when I expand the capital B to epsilon, next symbol will be the symbol which is there in the follow of capital B. What is the follow of capital B? Follow of capital B will be first of capital C, which is small d. So I'll be adding capital B derives epsilon where in the parsing table. I'll add it at the location B comma whatever symbols which are there in the follow of capital B. This is where I'll be adding the production capital B derives epsilon, and follow of capital B is containing small d. So I'll add this is where I'll be adding the production capital B derives epsilon. So this is the parsing table that we have obtained and that we use in the previous example, and this is the concept which is there in the construction of the parsing table. Let me now generalize the discussion. So we are learning how to construct predictive parsing table. Constructing predictive parsing table means determining for every production where this will get added in the parsing table. So let us say I have picked up the production capital A derives alpha, and I have to determine where in the parsing table this will get added. For the time being, let us assume that parser is there in the configuration where capital A is on top of the stack and I have some string in the input buffer. And if I want to expand this capital A using this production, that will mean that in the input buffer at the beginning I have the string which is derivable from this particular production, and this string will begin from which terminal symbol? This string will begin from the terminal symbol which is there in the first of alpha. So when capital A is on top of the stack and I want to expand the capital A using this production, what will be the next input symbol? Next input symbol will be the symbol which is there in the first of alpha. So where will I add this production in the parsing table? I'll add this production at the location A comma first of alpha in the parsing table. This is where I'll add this production in the parsing table. If first of alpha is containing epsilon, what is the meaning of this? Let us once again consider the configuration that capital A is on top of the stack and I have something in the input buffer, and first of alpha is containing epsilon. First of alpha is containing epsilon. So if first of alpha is containing epsilon, then input buffer will not be holding any string which is derivable from capital A derives alpha. And what will be the symbol when I expand capital A with alpha when first of alpha is also holding epsilon? The symbol will be the symbol which is there in the follow of capital A. So if first of alpha is containing epsilon, then this production will also get added at the location A comma follow of capital A. So in order to construct the predictive parsing table, what I'll do is I'll pick up each production one by one. So for example, if I have picked up the production capital A derives alpha, I'll calculate first of alpha and I'll add this production at the location A comma first of alpha. And if first of alpha is containing epsilon, then I'll also add this production at the location A comma follow of A. So this is how a predictive parsing table will be constructed. Let's now take another example and construct predictive parsing table. Now we'll construct predictive parsing table for this grammar. This grammar I had given you earlier. This grammar accepts arithmetic expression. It is unambiguous grammar, and this grammar does not contain left recursion. For this grammar in the previous lecture on first and follow, I had calculated first and follow of various variables which are shown over here. So for example, the first of capital E is this, first of E dash is this, and so on. And similarly, follow of capital E is this, follow of E dash is this, and so on. So we had done this calculation earlier. Now given this, let us now construct the predictive parsing table. So in order to construct the predictive parsing table, what we'll do is we'll pick up each production one by one and we'll try to determine where in the parsing table that production will get added. So first of all, let us pick up the production capital E derives T dash and determine where this production will get added. This production will get added at the location first of Te dash. This will get added at the location E comma first of Te dash. First of Te dash is left parenthesis and identifier. First of Te dash is left parenthesis and identifier. So this production is being added at the location E comma identifier and E comma left parenthesis. So this production has been added at these two locations in the parsing table. Let's now move over to the next production. E dash derives plus Te dash. Where will I add it? I'll add it at the location first of plus Te dash. First of plus Te dash will contain plus. So this production has been added at the location E dash comma plus. Let's now take next production. Next production is E dash derives epsilon. First of this production is containing epsilon. So where will I add this production? I'll add this production at the location E dash comma follow of E dash, because first of this production is containing epsilon. So this will get added at the location E dash comma follow of E dash. Follow of E dash is containing right parenthesis and dollar. So at the location E dash comma right parenthesis, this production has been added, and at the location E dash comma dollar, this production has been added. Let's now take next production. Capital T derives ft dash. Where will I add this? I'll add it at the location T comma first of ft dash. First of ft dash is containing left parenthesis and identifier. So this has been added at the location T t comma identifier and t comma left parenthesis. Let's take another production. Another production is t dash derives star ft dash. First of star ft dash is containing a star, so this production has been added at the location t dash comma star. Let's now take the next production, which is t dash derives epsilon. Where will I add this? First of this production is containing epsilon, so I'll add it at the location t dash comma follow of t dash. Follow of t dash is containing plus right parenthesis and dollar, so at the location t dash comma plus t dash comma right parenthesis and t dash comma dollar, this production has been added. The next production is capital F derives within bracket capital E. Where will I add this? I'll add it at the location whatever is the first of this. First of this is containing the left parenthesis. So this production has been added at the location F comma left parenthesis. The last production in the grammar is capital F derives identifier. Where will I add this? I'll add it at the location whatever is the first of this. First of this is containing identifier. So this production has been added at the location F comma identifier. So this is how we have constructed the parsing table for this particular grammar. In order to understand things better, let us now do the parsing of one more string, and now we'll parse this string id star id. I place the string in the input buffer. At the end, I place the $sign. And the stack is initialized with the starting variable capital E. At the bottom of the stack, I have the dollar. We'll also show the derivation as the parsing progresses. So we start the derivation from starting variable capital E. Topmost stack alphabet is capital E. The next input symbol is identifier. I consult the parsing table for entry E comma identifier. It is containing the production E derives TE dash. So capital E will be expanded with TE dash. So now I expand capital T with TE dash. And the buffer is holding ID star ID dollar. In the derivation, what has happened is capital E has been expanded to TE dash, and this is the sentential form that we obtain now. Now the topmost stack alphabet is capital T. The next input symbol is identifier. I consult the parsing table for the entry T comma identifier. It is containing this production, so capital T will now be expanded with FT dash. So now capital T is expanded to FT dash, and the input buffer is holding this, and in the derivation we have expanded the capital T with FT dash, and this is the sentential form that we have obtained now. I consult the parsing table now for the entry F comma identifier. It is containing this production, so capital F is now expanded with identifier. Stack is now containing this, buffer is holding, for example, this, and just now in the derivation we have expanded capital F to identifier, and this is the sentential form that we have obtained. The topmost stack alphabet is a terminal symbol, and it is matching with the next input symbol, which is identifier. So this part has already been matched. It will be eliminated from the input buffer, and it will be popped off from the stack. So this part has already been matched, and now my stack is containing this, and the buffer is holding this. Topmost stack alphabet is now T dash. Next input symbol is a star. I consult this location of the parsing table. T dash will now be expanded to star FT dash. So T dash is now expanded to star FT dash. In the derivation, this is the leftmost variable, and this has now been expanded to star FT dash. So now I obtain the sentential form ID star FT dash, and this part has already been matched. Topmost stack alphabet is now a terminal symbol, and it is matching with the next input symbol, so this will be eliminated from both the places. Now this part has already been matched, and now the stack is holding if t dash e dash dollar, and input buffer is holding id dollar. Topmost stack alphabet is capital F. I now consult the parsing table for F comma identifier. F comma identifier is containing this production, so capital F will now be expanded to identifier. The buffer is holding id dollar. This part has already been matched, and in the derivation, if I look at this sentential form, this is the leftmost variable, so this now has been expanded to identifier, so I obtain the sentential form id star id t dash e dash. The topmost stack alphabet is a terminal symbol matching with the next input symbol, so it will be eliminated from both the places, and this part has been matched, and now the stack is holding t dash e dash dollar, and buffer is holding dollar. I consult the parsing table for the entry t dash comma dollar. T dash comma dollar is containing epsilon, so t dash will be expanded to epsilon. So t dash will be expanded to epsilon, and this part has already been matched. Topmost stack alphabet is a variable. I consult the parsing table now e dash comma dollar. E dash comma dollar is containing this production, so e dash will be expanded to epsilon. So e dash is expanded to epsilon, and stack is now holding dollar. Input buffer is holding dollar. This string has already been matched, and let me show this in the derivation also. So id star id t dash was expanded to epsilon, and similarly in the next step of the derivation, e dash was expanded to epsilon. Stack is empty. Input buffer is now not containing any string, and the parsing is successful. The given string was derived from the starting variable capital E.